All right. So, folks, last time what we looked at is what if parameter. So, what I will do, I'll quickly do a recap of that. So, I'll show you one example of what if analysis, and you let me know if you have any faced any challenges there. Okay. Uh, so, yeah, let's get started. So, first step in what if analysis is that we go to modeling, and there is this new parameter tab. Okay. And then you have two options, either numeric range or field. So you put up numeric range. Okay. And then in this numeric range, I can set up the minimum, maximum, and what will be the increment. So my use case is that, let's say, if we give some additional discount ranging from 0 to 1 or 0 to 100%, then what, how would that impact me in my total sales performance, right? So that's how I want to use this parameter. So I will say discount or additional discount. Okay, I would put it as decimal number, and then from minimum I would put as maximum 1, and then I want increment to be 0.1, and then by default I want to be set it as zero point 0.1. Okay, and then I'll use this checkbox because I want to add the slicer to the page. Okay, so I'll say create. So as soon as we hit create, the new table gets created. Okay, this is the table name, additional discount, and if you click on it, you will see that it has a DAX which says generate series from 0 to 1 with 0.1 as the incremental value. Okay, and then there is another measure which gets created along with this, which says selected value for this column, and by default it is 0.1. Okay, so these are the two basic changes that always are there. Okay, now the next thing is I can hover on it and it changes, but then as I make this parameter, I need to add this to the column, like the calculations. I need to reference it somewhere, right? So what I will do is that I'll go to orders and I'll create a new measure, and as soon as I create a new measure, I will say sum of sales, okay, minus sum of sales multiplied by additional discount. So if my discount is 10% and my sales is 100%, then 100 minus 100 multiplied by zero point 0.1, which is 10. So 100 minus 10, 90. So that would be my corrected sales. So any questions over here before I move ahead? Yes, Kaustav. Yes. Which tab you are saying? Uh, like this corrected sales? Uh-huh. Yes. This additional discount, yes. So yeah, go ahead, please. Yes, yes. So what we are doing is that we are having this user parameter field. Okay. So user will input a value over here, and that value will get translated into a calculation. Yeah. And I will create a small table over here. Okay. And I will say category, and I will say sales. So I'll have my sales over here, and then I'll add a corrected sales, right? And this will change as per my input. So if I say how would if I do it 40% discount, right? And then these numbers will change accordingly. So this is how you can use what if analysis. And there are multiple applications of what if analysis. Like last time we spoke about how we can use it in linear regression, but that is far-fetched example. But simplest example could be like this, using getting the impact of sales, or calculating your inventory levels, or so on and so forth. So the idea is that it's a user-driven calculation. That user defines the calculation, and accordingly the values will change. So that's how what if analysis works. Uh, any questions before I move ahead? Do you? Yeah. Yes. Uh huh. Okay. Mhm. Okay. Okay. Let's do it. So I'll do it as field, and then category. Mhm. Segment. Yeah. Create category. Segment. Mm, Parameter. Name of category. Name of segment. And then. Actually, I've never used this type. Yeah. So. Mhm, mhm. Okay. There's- mhm. And sales. Yeah. 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 So yeah. So I was thinking like if we can add a selected value, but yeah, it's quite straightforward. So it's kind of like takes the column instead of taking the values in between. Yeah, yeah, we can add as many values. Yeah. So like yeah, 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 yeah. That is good. Yeah, nice. No, because here it is a column, not category values. So if you take a slicer over here and put a category, then you have different things, but it is actually a column. So so if you see, it is taking all the values in segment or in category. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, nice, cool. So we looked at parameters. Now another category, there is another category of parameters that I wanted to talk about. uh, I know we are in the middle of DAX, but I'll just quick a detour because that we have started talking about parameters. So another category of parameters that exist is in the transform data tab. Okay? And in this transform data tab, you have orders, peoples, and return, three tables, right? So let's take one example of parameters, and then I want you all to think that where you can use this. Okay, so let's say uh, 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 okay, so this is the category column. Okay, so I would do right click and I say add as a new query. So when I hit enter on this, what will happen is that this column will be created over here as a new query. Okay. We all know what query is. So any new import or any new data type that is over here gets added as a new query. So I say add as a new query, and this gets added over here. And then I say remove duplicates. Okay, so now what I have is a unique list of category, unique list of one columns. Okay, now I go to orders and I say manage parameters, and I click on a new parameter. Okay, and in this parameter I would say category. Okay, and if you want, okay, I'll put cat1. Put the name different one. So the type could be anything. For now, we'll just keep it any. And then suggested values is list of values. So I can manually add those list of values, okay? Or I can use a query. When I use a query, all the existing queries will pop up over here in terms of list. So I have a category, which is this one, okay? And current value, we'll just keep it blank, okay? And I say okay. Okay, it needs a current category, so I would say any name of category that I forgot, like office supplies. Okay, office supplies, and I say okay. So what we have done is that we have created a new parameter. Okay, now what we can do is that we can go on that category column and we say text filters equals. So either you can enter a value over here, or you can set up a parameter, okay? And here I would say I would use cat1 as the parameter. Okay, so what we are doing, we are actually filtering the data based on the parameter, and I'll say okay. Okay, so for now, because by default we have taken office supplies, it is filtering on office supplies. Now I will say close and apply. And what I will do, I'll just create a new dashboard, simple, category wise, region wise sales. Okay, okay, region. Okay, and now when I click on this transform data, there is this edit parameters, and when I click on edit parameters, it says which one do I want to filter. So I had previously created these parameters, so ignore these. And here I can say instead of office supplies, I want to click on furniture, and I say okay, and automatically it will change the data from office supplies to furniture. Now the idea is, now this is not user defined parameter, this is more of a developer defined parameter, if you understand what I mean. Like, I am setting up this parameter based on developer's value, because user who is going to consume this dashboard will not know what transform data is, or what he, like, he won't go over here because he will not have that option. This is more of a user defined parameter, like for not for user, I would say developer defined parameter for developer. So can you think of any another scenario where you will be filtering the data for, especially for developers, or changing anything related to data? Yes, Kaustuv. Hmm. Yes, 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 you are. Okay, so which was the last thing that you saw? This parameter or the backend parameter? This one, did you see this? Okay, okay, okay. Here over, right? Yeah. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll delete this. I don't know if I can delete this. I'll just do it again. I will create a new file because there are already many parameters that might confuse you. Yeah, yeah. No, no, no. Actually, whenever I'm playing with parameters, my laptop just gives up. Uh, I think it's a laptop thing, not related to Power BI, because ideally it should perform better. Yes, yes, definitely, definitely. And I found one great trick that you can use parameter, because last week I was working on a dashboard and that dashboard was like taking 15 minutes to refresh. And based on, yeah, 15 minutes, and it has like 70 million rows, but without changing the number of rows, uh, we reduced from 15 minutes of refresh to 2 minutes of refresh. So client was super happy because she saved up like lots of dollars for cost, like the dashboard cost that might occur on Snowflake and Power BI. So yeah, thanks Sachin. Yeah, I'll show you that. I'll show you that example as well. There are two ways through which you can do the optimized performance. So one is through, there is a tool that I'll show, and another one is through relationships. So I'll go to this transform data tab. Okay, so it's a fresh new uh, report that we have. So what we'll do is we'll create on manage parameters and say new parameter. Okay, this new parameter I will say cat. Okay, and then for type it's any. Suggested values is either list of values or query. For now I'll do query, and then, oh, there is no query that I've made, sorry about that. So I'll say segment and add as a new query, and when there is a new query that I've added, I will say remove duplicates. So there is a unique list of segment that is created. Now I'll go over here, I'll say manage new parameter, and I'll say segment. Okay, and then here I'll say query. I'll take segment as a query, and one is corporate. Yes, Kaustubh. Yes, yes. I'll talk about that. So for now, we are just creating a new parameter, and we'll get to that part where actually what it does. Okay. So I'll say okay. No, no, this is new topic. This is new. Yeah. Okay. So and then, so what we have created? We have created two things. One is the query, which is unique list of segment, and another one is the parameter, right? Segment parameter. So and then here, um, we have segment. So what we are doing is that we are adding a filter over here. Simple. And when you click over here, say text filter equals, and here instead of this text, we are saying parameter, and automatically, as there's just one parameter, it has taken segment one parameter. Okay. And now automatically, because I have specified default value as corporate, it is filtering the data to corporate. Okay. I say close and apply. Okay, and then I'll just quickly build a dashboard. Okay, so now I'll click on this transform data. There is this new parameter that pops up, which is edit parameters. And here I can take corporate instead of consumer. I think I'd already taken corporate. So I'll say home office. I'll say okay. Apply changes. So this segment changed to home office. So this is how like you can parameterize the filtering in query. Okay. Now, can you all think of any other application or any other usage of this transform data apart from filtering the data? But it has to do with data source. So can you all think of a way you can parameterize your pulling the data? Uh, no, because that would be row level security if I'm understanding you. So yeah, so that will be taken care automatically. But there is something that you as a Power BI developer would go in over here. You'll say edit parameters and quickly change and entire dashboard changes. User could be, yeah, you're right. User could be the one. You can add list of users and you can see their respective values. But there is a broader usage. Now think of any other application. Uh, let's say there is you're doing UAT on prod and dev, right? You have a same database in UAT in dev migrate development environment and production environment. Uh, Same table, same schema. You are just checking whether the values are matching accurately or not. So what you can do is quickly change edit parameters from dev. You can click on prod or from for prod to go back into dev. So that is something that you can do in your parameters. So when you go over here, okay, and you say new source and you say this SQL Server database, right? Now here you can add a parameter. So what if you have unique list of server and database values which won't change frequently, right? So you just add parameter and you can quickly change from dev to prod to dev, or you can have three or four layers. Then you can add all those three or four layers and quickly change between server and database, and the values change automatically. So that's the one of the best usage of parameters. Yeah, that option is always there. That option is always there, but I think it's a better option. Like you can, like, let's say you are using this dashboard, right? You can go to this advanced editor, and let's say here is you have added the server name. So instead of server name one, you can add server name two, and everything remains same. But in this way, you don't have to do that kind of hard work, and you can just quickly go edit parameters from server one, change to server two, change to server three, click on OK, and then boom, you're done. So that's the use of parameters, one parameters. Yeah. Uh, the yeah. So the other thing I just remembered that I wanted to talk about is query folding. Okay. We were talking about query optimization or Power BI optimization. So let's say you're pulling a table, okay, and it has 10,000 rows, okay, and you are just straight away pulling that table. Now, instead of that, you can write an SQL query over here. Select country, comma, city from invoice where whatever. So this is called as query folding in Power BI. Okay, so it's a good practice that whichever columns that you need, whichever filters that you need, you can use where condition, group by condition. The idea is that whenever you are whenever you are importing an SQL database, you always use a query folding. So in that case, what happens is, first you are getting data specific to the columns that you are actually needing rather than importing the whole data set. So that will actually improve your query performance. So this option that I am just showing you right now is called as query folding or native query in Power BI. Yes, Kaustubh. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes. So you put server name, you put database name, and then here you can add a join condition as well. You can add anything, and then automatically you are pulling the data that you need. So this is one of the best practices in Power BI, that you always use native query while for pulling the data. Yes, it saves time, and you're like taking in just whatever you need. Yeah, yeah. Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Query folding. Yes, query folding. Yeah, yeah. Right, right. Custom SQL query. Yes. Yeah. Everything, like I'm doing this for Snowflake, and you can do this for Redshift as well. Even for I would say Impala Hive, it works. For Impala I also have done it, so you can use this for Impala as well. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, same thing here. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, correct, correct, correct. Absolutely. So if Snowflake uses some different terminology or syntax, then that should be also be part of it. So accordingly, you can change, and or you can just use the same query that you're using in Snowflake and paste it over here, and you can get that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 Que- Okay, so you are saying that you are taking motivation from this, you're copying this, and rather than this, you are writing like in this, right? Yeah, 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 yeah. You can do that. You can do that. But the syntax would be different. So yeah, 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 yeah. Right, right. So so I'll go to the example where will we save like refresh times. So the data set was something like this. Okay. So there had this transactions. Okay, there has this lookup one table, I would say, for referencing to some columns. They had lookup lookup two table. Okay, and there is this another table which was view. Okay, so view was something we created. Transaction was the original table. Transactions has transaction ID. Okay, it has also ID, and all lookup tables has primary key. Okay, and these two tables were joined. Okay, this table was joined with this table using primary key. So it had also foreign key of lookup 1 and foreign key of lookup 2. Okay, so this lookup table is joined to transaction table. This lookup table is also joined transaction table, and it had 67 million rows. and this was joining to my view which had around 30k rows. Okay. Now what was happening is that in these transactions they had these multiple columns as well, like many columns, and in this view which was custom SQL view, so it was culmination of two three columns, two three tables joined together. So what we did is that all these columns that we were needing over here, we brought it to view. Okay, so column 1, column 2. So the view remained of 30,000, so these additional columns were removed. Okay, and then it had just 67 million rows of IDs. Okay, so what we did then, we joined these two. So it was just a bridge table, if you remember the many to many relationship. So first we thought of joining lookup directly to view, but then this joining from lookup to view was not possible, it was giving many to many. So what we did, we just kept this as a bridge table. We connected these and the filter direction from lookup to transactions to view, and all the additional columns that were present in transactions were removed. Okay, so that triggered file size from whatever, like 300 400 MB to 150 MB. Okay, so we were actually importing very less data set. So that was our first way of actually reducing the refresh timings, and that drastically reduced the refresh timing, because what was happening earlier, it had around 100 columns. Okay, and lot of calculated columns. Okay, and these was created by someone else. So what we did, what out of these 100 we were just needing 15-20 columns. So we just took these 15-20 columns in our view and removed all the columns, and we just kept the foreign keys and the primary keys of this table. And then whatever we need from this table, this was connected to this table, right? And this table was connected to this table. So, and the filter flow was from this table to this table, followed by this table to my view table. So the filtering was also happening. We were able to get all the lookup values from this lookup one as well as this lookup two, same way, lookup table to filtering to transactions table filtering to view table. So the filter flow was also there. So that actually helped tweaking the relationship and modifying some view. We got better performance. But apart from that, there is another very good use. Uh, there is with this tool, okay, which is called as measure killer. Okay, I'll show you that. So this measure killer is a very effective thing. um, so this is the tool. Okay, and then it takes single data sets, it's free. Okay, you click on that. Okay, and you select the file which are open, so I'll say DAX class. Okay, and then run. Where did it go? Stop. For some reason it is not working, I don't know why. Yeah, finally. So it has taken that DAX class. Okay, and now if I run this, show results. Okay. So what it does is that it tells me which columns, which measures are not being used in my report. Okay. So it highlights them in a red color. Okay. So it tells me whether used or not. So if you are building a dashboard, at the end of it, it would be a good practice if you run this simulation, and it will tell you that which columns are actually not being used, so you can just delete them or you can delete those measures. So that will also improve your dashboard performance. So it doesn't matter, as I said, with 20, 30, 50,000 rows. But if you're dealing with millions and millions of rows, adding one DAX calculated column also creates a lot of difference. Because we are working on a scenario where, every additional column generates additional value, like cost on the server. So your idea is to, save that money. So like this is the one way, you can optimize the dashboard performance. So yeah. Yes, Nikhil. Uh-huh. 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 Right. Yeah. Yes. Yes. It will consider. It will consider references as well. Yeah. Great question. So yeah, yeah. The references will it will consider, but apart from that, like it will show you that this is something that you don't need. So you can install this. Is absolutely free measure killer, and you can use it while improving your dashboard performance. Okay. So now coming back to DAX, um, we looked at a lot of DAX formulas. One is obviously um, related lookup value, right? And apart from lookup value, we also looked at contains, exact, and or if condition. We also looked at switch. Any questions over there? Do you want to repeat me for related or lookup value, or you all are very comfortable in that? Okay, I'll take that as a yes. Okay. So the next uh, kind of calculation that I wanted to talk about is I wanted to go through calculate again. So we looked at calculated columns. Now, when we are doing calculated measures, the most important is the calculate. Okay. So I will say new measure, and I'll say tech sales one. Okay. And I'll say calculate sum of sales. So the calculate function takes into first, which is expression, which is sum of sale, count of sales, right? Average, all aggregations, right? And then it asks me the criteria. So I would say category is equal to technology. Okay, and say enter. And now if I look at my, I'll just take region and I'll take sales, and then I'll take tech sales one. Okay, I guess I misspelled or something. What is the category? Oops. I think I'm applying a filter over here. Parameter. Now, because that parameter is also filtering to technology, and we are also saying technology is equal to sales, that's why these numbers are same. So I'll go back to the another file that we had created, and I'll create the same calculation. and probably I should just delete that parameter. Okay, so as you see that we have used calculate function, and we are taking total sales and we are comparing it again tech sales. Okay, so this is how you can use calculate function. Any questions over here, or calculate is clear? Because calculate is the one that you will be using a lot, so it's important that you understand this calculate function. Okay, now it is always yes, Niket. Mhm. Yes, right, right, we can. Yes. So I assume that you're saying that we should be taking anything that filter says over here, right? Like dynamically. Uh, uh-huh. Right. Right. Uh-huh. Hmm. Right. No, no, no. It doesn't make any difference. It's the same thing. Like in calculate, you can add multiple attributes of filters. It doesn't make any difference. Yeah. Uh, Now, if you all remember, we spoke about implicit measures and explicit measures, right? So this sum of sales is implicit measure, and this tech sales is explicit measure. Like I've created an additional measure, and I'm specifying something, some specific criteria to it. So that's why it is an explicit filter. And this sum of sales, I can change sum to average, mean, median, mood, and all these changes. But this implicit is remaining or specific to this visual, whereas the explicit measure that I have created, I can use it anywhere in the dashboard, right? So that is the difference between implicit and explicit measures. Okay, now I wanted to talk about, just hold on, I've written it somewhere. Yeah, okay. Now let's say I will create a new measure, okay, and I will say no filter cat. Okay, so I want to create a measure which does not take any filter. Okay, it should ignore all the filters. So then I would say calculate sum of sales. Okay, and then I would say all. So this all function restricts or ignores all the filters, right? So I would say category. So I am saying here that calculate my sum of sales and ignore category filter that are coming from anywhere. Okay, so I'll take this measure, create a table, and then I add a category. So do you see what's happening over here? That we are saying that for category as a attribute, it should not affect my measure. Okay, so it is ignoring it. Okay, and now if I add a slicer over here, and again I see a category, you see these numbers is not changing. So you use all function in your DAX to ignore the filters that you are specifying. So let's say that you are creating a dashboard and you want to calculate sum of like percent of total, right? You want to calculate percent of total, and how would you get total? You use all. So all would ignore the filters that you are applying, and in numerator you would have all the values that are getting filtered. So you would get the percent of total. There are many uses, but remember that all ignores the filter, and this is one of the most important uh, DAX formulas. Any questions over here? Now, along with this, I can add any other column. So I would say region. I'll also add region, and I'll apply a filter of region, and let's see if it changes, right? So it doesn't change. So it is like ignoring the filter. So you can specify which columns you want to ignore. The other way of doing this, can you any of you tell me what is the other way of without writing DAX if I don't want to, affect my visual? Is there any other way? And how would you do that? Let's say if you have a filter and you want to keep it specifically for one visual, like, and not for this visual, then how would you do it? Yeah, that is right, that is right. But what if I want to do it over here? Like I want this to change this but not this. No, that's what Niket said, but visual level, page level, and report level would impact only these specific, but this is something that user would change, and I don't want this to change this, let's say this visual. How would I do it? We had a discussion few days back. Correct. So we go to this format and we say edit interactions, and I lock this up, and then whatever I change over here won't affect this visual. So this is how you can use edit interaction. Yeah. So virtual pat on your back, Kaustav. Great. So now we spoke about all, and all ignores my specific columns, right? All ignores the specific columns that I'm specifying, right? Now there is another one which is all except, and we'll talk about that. Okay. So for sake of confusion, I'll and delete this also. And now if I say all except, okay, what is happening? Sorry, all selected. My bad. Orders category. Yes, Kaustubh. Yeah, last session. Yeah, last session was on DAX. Yeah, yeah. No worries, no worries. I'll share the recording. Okay. So here, if you see now, the category has sales. Okay, and again it is acting as same way as all. But if I say furniture, then it is filtering. Okay, so this is the beauty of all selected. What all selected does is that it says that I would not take any implicit filters. So implicit filter in this case is category. Okay, now I'll just remove this filter. So I would not take any implicit filters that are there in visual, but I would take any explicit filters that you are saying to me, if that makes sense. So all DAX function ignores all category of filters. All except says I would accept any other filters, but those are in visuals, right? So if I'm just saying sum of sales, right? If I'm just saying sum of sales and I'm ignoring this part for now, okay, what happens is that my sum of sales is getting filtered as a implicit filter to my category, right? It is splitting up to furniture, office supplies, and category. But if I say all selected, what is happening is that it says that I will ignore this visual level filters or visual level, you know, breakouts, but I will take all the explicit filters that you are saying. So that is how all selected works. And yeah, but if I remove this filter, then it takes the entire value. So any questions? Yeah, yeah. Hmm. Yeah, if you have specified category and you are applying region filter, it would not have any impact. So let's do that. So let's add a region over here, right? And so region gets filtered, but it is not, it is saying that I will not change based on the implicit filters that are there in the visual, that it won't change by this, if that makes sense. Okay. Yes, yes. Kaustubh, yeah, yeah. No, no, yeah. I'll just take Nikit's question first, and then I'll come back to you. So yeah, yes, Nikit. So tell me, like, what's the question? Hmm. Right, right. Right, right. Yeah. Yes, Niket. Yeah, yeah. Correct, correct. Because what's happening is that we are saying that whatever is in visual of category, I will not split. Okay. So it is taking central. It is showing central for furniture, for office supplies. So the total of central is 5. Okay. So it is taking that, but it is not splitting that into these categories. Okay. So if I remove category and if I add a segment over here, you see what's happening, that it changes. Yeah, but yeah, yeah, what it says that whatever is you specify, that column I will ignore at a visual level, but if any external filters for the same column that I'm specifying gets added, then I'll consider that. Yeah, yeah, yes, correct, correct. So we are ignoring the aggregation at a visual level, but if I apply a filter explicitly, that gets considered. Okay. Yeah, yeah. So you can use all selected. These are the two DAX functions that actually ignore your, filters, and you can use those as well. So you would need them, right? So let's say your client comes back to you and says, I want to select the region, right? And when I select the region, I want to see the total as well, and I want to see what are the values that are impacting. So you can do that. When you want to do the total, you can just say all and ignore the columns that are specific, that you want to, exclude them as a filter. And then maybe you can do a calculation, maybe you can do a percent of total, so that would give you the values that you need. So you can tweak it based on your requirements, but all and all selected are the two most used functions to handle the filters that are implicit and explicit. Okay, now that we know how calculate works, right? Yes, Kaustubh, yes, you had a question. Sorry. Yeah, tell me. Yes, this reason is my explicit filter. So whatever that I'm doing, you know, like I'm creating a new filter, I'm creating a new measure, those are all explicit. But whatever is happening at a visual level is implicit. Like I can do sum of sales, right? I can do categories. So that is implicit. Yeah. No, no, no. They are very different. So if you say all ignores filters at all levels, as the name says, right? So I'll show you again, right? So create a new measure, okay? And when I create a new measure, I say calculate sum of sales, right? And then I'll say all, and I'll say segment, okay? Order segment. And then I will add that over here, okay? So my segment, and I'll, so if you see, it is not changing at a visual level, okay? And now let's see for all function if I add a filter of segment, right? So if I add a segment, it doesn't change. The measure values don't change, right? So what we are saying in all is that I don't want to click like I don't want to even look at any filters. I don't want to consider any filters. I just want to show what is my total. So whichever column that you are specifying for that specific column, if you use that column in a filter, then that would ignore all those implicit and explicit filters. So it ignore that implicit at column at visual level and also at explicit level. Okay. Now same if you do it, where is that measure? Now instead of all, you say all selected, and now if I say segment, the values would change. So in all except, you say whatever explicit filters are, I will consider those, but the implicit filters don't ask me. Okay. So that's how you are doing all and all selected. Yeah. So that's how you can use all and all selected. Now I'm sure all of you, I've shown you enough calculate that you are bored, but I want to even show more, and I want to show calculate with use of variable. Okay. And variable is another important aspect, right? So all of us have done engineering, which is sad, especially those who have done mechanical. Now in that mechanical engineering, we learned few subject, which is declaring a variable, right? So declaring a variable is same thing at that we do over here, that we say we want to create a variable in the computer application subject. Okay. So we say a new measure, and in that new measure I would say I want to see segment per ship mode ratio. Okay. I'm just making up any calculation. Idea is to understand the variable part. So in this case, if I say calculate sum sales, okay, and then I would say segment is equal to corporate. Okay. Now, yes, Kosto. Which one? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. No, no, no. I'm coming to variable part. So what we looked at so far is just creating a measure. Uh, right now I'm creating a variable. Okay. So yeah. So for defining a variable in DAX, you say var, okay, and specify any name to var, right? So I can specify any name that I want, okay? So I will say uh, any random name, right? I will say uh, R, okay? And I will add and create a variable. Okay, and this is how you can create one variable r. Okay, and then you add another variable which says s. Okay, and then here you would say, instead of segment, you say ship mode, and I guess there is one ship mode for first class. So what I have done is, within a measure, I've created a two variables. Okay, one variable calculates corporate sales, another variable calculates first class sales. Okay, and then I will say return divide r comma s. Right, now think of many ways you can create a calculation within a calculation by defining a variable, and then calculate your overall measure. And you say okay, okay, and then you take this and you are calculating segment per ship mode ratio for different segments. So this is how you can create a variable, and based on variable you can create those calculations. So this is another critical part. Always we declare a variable, right? And after we declare a variable, we can use it and we can apply any calculations that we want. So that's how you can, define a variable within DAX. Yeah, yeah, yes, yes, of course. Yeah, we can do that. The idea is that you are using variables in a calculation, and rather than creating three different measures, you just want to create one and do that. And now this is not a very great example that I've shown you, right? Now I want you all to try selected value over here. That user would select a segment, user would select a first class, and then based on that, will get a divide calculation. So I want you all to try this whenever you all are free. uh, Try creating a variable with selected value. Okay, and think of a way which cannot be done through normal calculations, and then you can create, using a variable. The another application that I could think of right now is, let's say you want to take sales from last 7 days, right? And let's say there are date functions that are there in DAX, but what if you want to create a variable which says today minus 7, and then you call that variable in a calculation or any other uh, application that you can think. So yeah, those are some ways you can use variables in your calculations. Think of ways you can use variable. I'll share some examples of variables. um, but yeah, that's how you can create a variable within your measures and then create calculations. Now I also want to talk about one best practice while we are speaking, is whenever you click on any measure, okay, it says home table. Okay, and I can change the table of a measure from order to people, right? And it will get added to people, and it would not make any difference to that measure calculation, because the measures are not actually part of tables. Okay, so a good practice for you to follow, sorry, just a moment. हॅलो. मला एक 10-15 मिनिटं लागतील, थांबतेस का? बरं बरं, ठीक आहे. हां हां. Okay. So the always it's a good practice for you all to have a separate table for your measures calculation. I'm not saying calculated columns, I'm saying calculated measures. Okay. So it is always good practice that you create a new table. Okay, go to modeling, create a new table, and as you click on new table, just say one and enter. Oops. So I would say values, and I would say order ID. Okay. So this, if I type this, it will give me all unique order IDs. So I'll take that, and then I would just put all my measures into this new table that I have created. So whenever I want to change anything, or migrate anything, or just want to do some testing or whatever, it is always a good practice that all measures are found in one single table rather than using multiple tables. And so yeah, so all measures in one table. So that's a very good practice for you all to follow. Okay, so now that we are quite good with DAX, little bit I would say, uh, you are quite good with calculated columns and calculated measures. What I would recommend is just try all these, and even if you so whatever DAX functions that we looked at a column level basic arithmetic calculation, we looked at related, we looked at lookup value, we looked at if condition, we looked at string based calculation like contains. Then we moved to measures. In measures we looked at calculate, the most important of all, and then what are the different ways you can tweak your calculation in calculate. We looked at variables, right? We looked at defining variables. I think these are like 10 or 20% of total DAX functions. I'm not saying even 10 or 20, but it contributes to 80% of the applications that we use in real world. Okay, so for all DAX that you would need to use, if you master these few, you would probably are good to go. Okay, so learn calculate as much as you can. Calculate function is at most important. Um, that is the one that you use most of the time. Okay, now that we are moving ahead is with calculate table. Okay, so I go to this modeling and I click on this new table. The first way I can calculate a table is definitely values, and it gives me all the distinct values that are present in the table. Okay, so that is the one. And then you can use summarize. This is the most common one. And then I would say table name, which is orders, right? And now, there is interesting fact that if I say sales, if I want to take the aggregation, but I'll just hold on to that thought. Okay, sorry. So I'll take orders, I'll take category, I'll take product name, and then I can say if I want to add a numeric measure, I would say sales, which is column name, and then text sales. The measure that I have created, I can add it into my calculated column, and I need to specify the column name using this. So the syntax is summarize table name, which is over here, then group by column name, group by column 2, and then the expressions. And I complete the bracket, and we'll see how the table is coming up. So this is how the table is. And of course, because this tech sales just filters for technology, we are not seeing any sales for office supplies and product name. I'll just remove the product name to increase some granularity. Yeah, so that's how you can actually look at uh, summarize as a table. Now what I would recommend, एक, what I would recommend is look at group by as a function and look at summarize as a function. Try these two and think how can you use group by and summarize, and what is the difference between them. But yeah, try summarize and try all the functions that we spoke. I think I spoke a lot for today, but try summarize and add different variables to it. Uh, sorry, add different attributes to it and see how it changes. Okay. So yeah, that's all I guess from today from my side. I guess I don't wanna do a lot because I spoke about parameters. I spoke about calculate all selected and variables. So I think this is a lot to take. So could you please try selected value in variable? Could you please try group by in summarize? Try those, and let me know what you think tomorrow. Okay, and we'll try those as well. Okay. Yes, Niket. Yeah. For DAX, right? Hmm. Yeah, yeah. We'll do that. We'll do definitely do that, and I'll share that with you all, and maybe you all can try. And tomorrow we can revisit those questions. Okay. Thank you all. Thanks for joining, and thanks. Thank you. And I'll see you tomorrow.